Hey guys, it's Duras here, and I'm finally done with all my coursework at university, which means I can do more videos, write more blog entries, and just generally just hang out and play games. So I thought I might as well start with the Old Republic, considering I promised to do a video like last week, but I didn't actually anticipate how much work I had to do, because I don't manage my time very well, or something like that. Anyway, I think it's fair to say that over the last few years I have played a lot of MMOs, and I followed a lot of MMOs in development. And I have at least a semblance of an opinion on what they're doing well, what they're doing not so well, and where they can go in the future, as well as what they can do to improve themselves right now. I saw Old Republic as an opportunity to take a look back at what other MMOs have done, and compare it with this game and see if Old Republic is going on the right track, or if they're not, if they're doing a couple of things that might be a bit dubious, or if they're just doing something totally new. Before I begin the actual commentary, I just want to say that this is a lot of my own opinion, not necessarily all complete fact, which means you may not agree with everything I say, and that's absolutely fine. In fact, I encourage a good debate and a good argument, because that means you're actually looking at something objectively, and you can say, I agree or I don't agree without saying, you're stupid. At least that is the theory. I'm sure we're all familiar with the term troll, and just for the record, I'm not going to listen to anyone who has that type of an opinion. Also, I just want to say that all the footage I'll be showing you will be from the beta, not from the actual game. I am aware that the game has launched for a certain select group of people who pre-ordered. However, most of my content recorded was from back in the beta weekend, and I had a bit more time, and then obviously all this coursework crept up, so I couldn't do this video sooner. The first thing I'll be talking about here is the class system. It's become the hallmark of virtually every MMORPG out there, because it's a very easy way to make a character feel unique. You got a unique set of roles, you've got your own aesthetic look, you've got a set of skills that no other class has access to. And in that regard, I believe BioWare made the right decision to include classes in Star Wars: The Old Republic, because if you look at the movies, if you look at the background lore, you've got your main characters, you've got Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, Han Solo. These are very distinct archetypes which translate very well into classes. They have their own set of skills. Like, for example, you don't see Boba Fett with a lightsaber, do you? So I think the decision to have very distinct classes was actually a very good idea. Now, BioWare made a very interesting decision of only giving you the ability to choose between 4 classes when you make a character. However, at level 10, you're given the ability to choose an advanced class, and each class has 2 advanced classes, effectively making them 8 classes in the game. However, what I find most interesting is the fact that the opposite faction has the same classes as you, but with their own spin on them, effectively making them feel unique, but play almost the same, making balancing very, very easy for BioWare. To give an example, you have your Jedi Knight on the Republic side, where you have a Sith Warrior on the Empire side. They are mechanically the same class, but they look and feel very different. And from a role-playing standpoint, I believe that's actually quite a good move, because that allows you to play your own version of Palpatine or Luke Skywalker, while at the same time the developers don't feel like there's far too many classes, because again, they're not balancing too much, they're balancing effectively 8 classes. In terms of other games that did that, Warhammer Online had a very similar system. Each class had a mechanical mirror that played the same but looked and felt different. A very good example of that would be the Witch Hunter, for example, had a mirror called the Witch Elf. The Archmage had a mirror called the Goblin Shaman, and so on and so forth. And while that game had many problems, I do believe that the class system was not really one of them, although they did release 4 of their classes late, or something like that. However, what has got me a little bit concerned is the fact that the Old Republic, as a new MMO, still depends on its very old and tired Holy Trinity system with the tank, healer, and DPS dependency. I feel that we're moving away from that as an industry. However, the decision to hold on to that seems a bit weird to me. That also leads to another concern of mine, which is the combat system. I mean, you're talking about an IP, an intellectual property with Jedi and bounty hunters and Sith. Just take one look at the cinematics or the movies, you'll know that these fight scenes are fantastically choreographed, whereas the engine that they're using right now does not really allow for that level of fidelity in terms of combat. You're still doing the basic hack and slash damage, and it's just a bit jarring when you think about what could have been done. I look at single player RPGs such as The Witcher 2, the first one was kind of meh, and there's also games like The Force Unleashed. The story was absolutely terrible, but the combat was amazing. I felt like a badass playing that game. And in terms of MMOs, take one look at DC Universe Online. I mean, that combat is visceral, fast paced, and it's in the here and now. You can play it with a gamepad because it's just so reaction based. There are stats in that game, but there are not block stats. I mean, your ability to block an attack is not based on a dice roll, it's based on your ability to move the hell out of the way. And I feel that's what really encompassed the Jedi that I thought of. However, I will be fair. The combat in the Old Republic is not terrible. I mean, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, when I think about what could have been, I felt, I don't know, they could have done a bit better. They could have made it a bit more engaging. After paying close attention to the combat, I realised it's actually quite good. It's very similar to World of Warcraft in the regard that you press buttons and hotkeys to do skills, and I know World of Warcraft did not invent that, but it did kind of exemplify it and make it the standard. And I realised that Old Republic has actually got no auto attack, which is a very good move. It means you're in control of every strike your character makes. On top of that, there's the subtle nuances of having your character deflect bullets if he's using a lightsaber, and just stuff like that that made combat feel a bit more heroic. In fact, I believe World of Warcraft is taking a page from that system because their monk class will not have auto attack either. Now, there is another system of World of Republic that I feel was actually really good and a lot of fun, and I did not see this one coming. It's the ship system. Now, each class has their own ship. It serves as player housing. I mean, it's not very customizable at the moment, but yeah, you have your own ship, you can fly to other planets with it, and by extension you're given the ship combat system. It's so much fun. I mean, when you break it down, it's an on-rails mini game when you're flying around in space shooting stuff, but oh my goodness, it's so addictive and so much fun. And quite frankly, I can't think of any other MMO that's really done something like this. Obviously, you could bring up EVE Online, but that's very different. EVE Online has ships as a focus. I mean, you're not really a player, you are a ship. Whereas Old Republic ships are a mini game and they have a very different intent and very different goals. But yeah, my goodness, it is so much fun. My only real complaint is that as an MMO, you can't really use your ship with other players. I mean, you can invite players into your own ship. However, when it comes to flying around, you're always on your own in an instance, and it's a shame because I mean, there's so much potential there. I mean, I was just watching episode 3 this morning, and I was just thinking about that scene of Obi-Wan and Anakin flying around in their sort of mini pods, and I just thought, wouldn't it be so cool if you could do something like that? Now, it is worth saying that the developers did say they do have plans to expand the ship system, and I just hope that multiplayer ships is on that list because, my goodness, that'll make it for me. Now, there are two things this game has done so well, and will continue to make the game for me, and for many other players I'm sure. But it's a companion system and the story system. It's hard to articulate just how much on how well BioWare has done with these two features, and they have continued to across all their games. Looking at Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2 to a lesser extent, Mass Effect 1 and 2, Baldur's Gate, Knights of the Old Republic. This is something BioWare has nailed, and they have finally brought it to the MMO genre, and you know what, they have done such a good job. In terms of story, they have done it so each class has their own distinct storyline that they can follow as the main game. I mean, as a Jedi Consular, that is my story, and that's my entire game. Now, I can play with other players, and there are side quests, just like in Dragon Age. You've got your main storyline, and there are side quests, but the main story is about you as a consular, and something's going down, and the story is so big I feel like I cannot actually put it here because I'll be spoiling it for many players. And I never thought I'd say that about an MMO. I mean, for a single player game, yeah, I say, oh, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen here because that's a spoiler, but as an MMO, I'm usually fine talking about what happens. I mean, spoiler, Lich King dies. If you guys didn't know that, then, well, I'm sorry, you guys are kind of ruined. But in this case, there's so much big stuff happening that's so personal and specific to your character, and it just feels like a very good single player RPG. And to an extent, I guess it kind of is. I mean, BioWare have managed to create an MMO where every single NPC has its own voice actor, and that's mind-boggling. Like, each class has their own voice as well, and you actually get to pick a dialogue choice. The closest game that ever came to this was Guild Wars 1, because your character actually spoke there, but it wasn't as well done as this. And there's also Age of Conan where characters speak to you, but you're still the silent observer. But in this game, you're talking, you're picking dialogue choices, and they matter. I mean, case point, light and dark side points for every single class in the game. That's mind-boggling. And putting that in an MMO setting only increases that sense of enjoyment, because I ran a dungeon where everybody had a say. I would say something, other characters would say things. I felt it just added so much to the experience. I just couldn't believe how much I was enjoying myself because I actually felt connected to the story. I mean, the quests aren't that different from other MMOs. There's still a couple of kill 10 of these, kill 10 of that, but just knowing why you're doing it and how someone talks to you just makes it feel that much better. There's also another feature that's completely blown me away, and that is the companion system. Again, if you've played a Bioware game, this is not something that's very new. However, putting it into an MMO setting has added so much new stuff and so much cool stuff to it that I just felt, this is amazing. Now again, this is not the first MMO to do this. Guild Wars 1 has had this feature for a very long time, the hero system in Nightfall. In fact, the henchman system as well. And the heroes in Nightfall had their own stories, they could talk to you and etc. when it wasn't like this. Games such as Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons and Dragons Online also had a henchman system where you can actually hire people to adventure with you. So again, this is not a brand new feature, but bringing voice acting into the game has completely transformed the way I view them. They are now completely different characters to me. They are living, breathing, realistic characters. And like Guild Wars and Nightfall, you can equip them, give them skills and armor and weapons, and they actually evolve with you. Doing certain quests can make them like you or trust you or distrust you and hate you, just like any other Bioware game. And I just feel it's absolutely amazing. And from an in-game standpoint, you're doing lots of stuff like it does all your crafting for you, we can even sell all your junk items. So for example, I could be out adventuring, my inventory's full, now what do? I could go back to town, or I can get my companion and just go and sell all my junk. And yeah, so much, I mean, in terms of quality of life, that's an amazing feature. So in closing, what do I think about this game? I think it's going to be brilliant. I mean, I've already pre-ordered it and I've played it, and yeah, I can tell from personal experience that this game's onto something quite big here. But like every other MMO, it really does depend on the community. And I feel the community will definitely shape how this game goes. If it's a brilliant game but with a rubbish community, then I'm sorry, this game's going to fail. But if you hang on to this game, and if you make friends, and if you get a good guild, this is going to be, quite frankly, one of the best MMORPGs out there. It may not be the most innovative. I mean, they've got a lot of new features, but not brand new features. But at the same time, they've refined what works and done it in a way that, quite frankly, puts a lot of other games to shame. But anyway, I hope this video was of some help to people who are on the fence about the game. I was very general with this video because there's just so many features I want to go over. If you guys have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll reply there, or make a whole new video depending on how big the question is. I've already got my character set up because I pre-ordered, so I'm on the Bloodworthy server on the Republic side if you guys want to play with me. In fact, I'll put a link in the description there somewhere. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.